I'm with Troy Newman. We're out in front of the White House here in Washington, D.C., and Pat Mahoney and others are gathered here today. Why did you come here all the way from Kansas?
Well, we see this administration moving so far to the left on very important life issues that now's the time to stand up and gather our constituents, gather our base together and say enough is enough. Now, if you look just statistically, those that would self-identify as pro-life, we've crossed the Rubicon, if you will. Over 50% of the American population believe that abortion is immoral. They would identify themselves as being pro-life. That's against abortion. Now, Mr. Obama wants to take taxpayer-funded abortion, taxpayer funds, and pay for these abortions. Now, depending on what poll you look at, upwards of 80% of the people disagree with their taxpayer dollars. That's another 30% on top of the first 50% that would say that abortion should not be paid for with tax dollars. Now, you take into account a time period in America's history where we're having record deficits, record amount of national debt, economic collapse, maybe 10%, maybe we might see 10% unemployment later this year. And this administration, along with the far left Democrats in Congress, are saying that the cure to this is to take out more American lives. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. In fact, all you have to do is look at some of the Eastern European demographic model to see that they're dying. Mm-hmm. They're dying at a rate of 50% every generation. Every successive generation is halving itself. America is one of the only Western countries that is actually holding its own at about a 2.1 repopulation rate per couple. Mm-hmm. So, except for immigration, we're going to die just like Eastern Europe does. And so to have this administration, to have Congress funnel taxpayer dollars in a time of crisis where people think, you know, I may not be able to afford this next baby, and so I will abort he or she, will have overwhelming generational consequences that we could not recover from. We're right now here on a precipice at a moment in time where we will either stand up and participate in the age-old Christian ethic of family and the family unit and propagate the human race there. The world isn't dying. We're not decreasing. One would only have to go through Arizona and Nevada and New Mexico and Kansas and Oklahoma and Texas to see that the world is not overpopulated. In fact, the best resource, the best natural resource that America has, is its youth. This would be like capping, taxpayer-funded abortion would be like capping every oil well in the nation, and shutting down every coal-fired power plant and nuclear power plant, and saying that we're saving electricity by doing it. It's ridiculous. And again, as soon as you defy the biblical principles, which is what abortion is. It's the taking of innocent human life. It's the violation of the Sixth Commandment. But now you start to pay for it with taxpayer funds, taxpayer monies. It will, and I'll say will, and also in a caveat, may. It may be the collapse, the doom of America. It may be, but it will certainly doom us to extinction in the long term.
And this is something that is on the heels of all of the other things that Obama has been doing as far as funding efforts around the world. I mean, he's already funded abortions around with other countries with one of the bills that allowed Planned Parenthood to now participate in abortion efforts in other countries. So now, of course, we're taking it here to the United States, and for those of you who are watching this, you got to decide, is this something you really want? I mean, do we want to get into a position now where we'll be funding the killing of human beings in the womb and elsewhere? Because it's not just abortion, it's embryonic stem cell research too, right?
Well, you asked the question, you know, what are we going to do about it? And I would say the vast majority of Americans are a lot like myself. I want to go watch my children's sports games. I want to come home on a Wednesday afternoon and maybe go to church on Friday, relax and watch a movie with my children. I want to hang out and go to church on Sunday and really kind of remove myself from the problems of the world. But sometimes, every once in a while, maybe once every generation, the problems rise up to the point where we have to sacrifice. We have to sacrifice with our funds, we have to sacrifice with our time, we have to sacrifice with our energy to make sure that the evil that is a clear and present danger in our age does not prevail. Every generation has an evil that it must conquer. And we can look back just a couple generations and see each one clearly. So why do we think in 2009 that we can escape the self-sacrifice that our forefathers did so willingly and so graciously? I'm grateful for that sacrifice, and I need to return that favor. We just borrow this liberty from our forefathers, and then we need to re-secure it and deliver it to our children. I have children. I do not want to see them inherit a world that I see coming. And so today we're making a stand. I've said that depending on which polls you look at, over 80% of the population disagree with using their tax dollars, particularly at this moment, to pay for abortions. So this administration, Congress, is out of step with its constituents. Radically out of step. And so that puts them in a precarious position. They're either going to lie to us, they're going to look in the camera and they're going to lie and then do something else, or they're going to have to change. And the only way they're going to change, they're already lying. They're already lying to us. You know, it's a bait and switch. You look at the birdie over here and then they sneak in this stuff. And like Nancy Pelosi, gee, I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea. The only way they're going to change, and the only way America is going to affect a change, is to scream. There's a crisis going on right now, and the only question is, do you and I feel it? I do. I feel the sense of urgency. And we need to stand up, be counted, make the phone calls, make the faxes, come to Washington, D.C., write the letters, scream, call your radio talk shows, relentlessly write letters to the editors, stand out on the street corners holding signs, etc., 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 etc. March in the streets, because children's lives and the future of this great nation rests with our sacrifice, just like it did in World War II. And the clear and present danger is no less imminent today, and perhaps even more so than it was then.
Well, you heard that. And for you folks out there who are watching this, got to get involved. How do they find out about it?
Well, you know, there's a myriad, and thank God for the internet. There's a myriad of pro-life organizations that you can get involved in. But I would say, get down on your knees right now and ask God what He would have you to do. It may be starting another organization. You can go on the internet, type in pro-life, you'll see all sorts of stuff. Our website is operationrescue.org. But you know what? Everybody has a part to play. And that's the unique thing about the body of Christ. We're an organic organism that is connected with Christ as our head. And so ask God what He would have you to do. If you're an atheist, just get out there and do it.
Yeah.
And I'll guarantee you that this crisis can be averted.
Well, I've got a shocker for folks out there. We actually have a radio station that we're doing Saturdays, Pro-Life Unity Radio.
Yes.
And 2 hours, and one of our guys who's part of the team is an atheist, and he's putting out the call to atheists and everybody else. This is not just a Christian thing. Of course, there's a majority of Christians that are doing this, but you're exactly right. This is a human thing, isn't it?
It is. This is about humanity, and the American people today are more interested in social justice than ever before. And we've been saying this like a mantra: social justice begins in the womb. Social justice begins in the womb. So I don't care if you're gay, I don't care if you're a Mormon, Jehovah's Witness, an atheist, a Muslim. It's time to stand up and be counted.